And I think you mentioned it. How about welcoming yourself to the Missouri Valley Conference as Destiny Wells did, averaging 22 points in those first two Valley matchups. So she is a player that the Bulldogs are going to have to contend with, as is the rest of the league.
Maggie Bear wins the jump, and we are underway as Drake will have the opening possession of the basketball game. And the three from the right wing is off the mark for Sarah Beth Gelder. We'll take a look at tonight's starting lineups, a presentation of Grinnell Mutual Insurance Trust in tomorrow. And you see the starters for the Bruins as Wells knocks in the first shot. She's joined by McGuff, Miller, Bartley, and Sydney Harvey, a transfer from South Florida. And for the Drake Bulldogs, Taylor McCauley, Katie Dinnebeer in the starting lineup as McCauley gets whistled for the offensive foul, joined by Beth Gelder, Maggie Bear, and Grace Berg inside.
I think you could see on the first two possessions for the Bulldogs that Belmont was trying to pack it in on the inside. They were going to double team as soon as the ball goes inside. They try to drive it on the second possession. They collapse down.
Wells dumps it off. It was knocked away from Bartley inside by Bear. That's last touch by the Bulldogs. And with 15 up on the shot clock, the Bruins trigger it in from the baseline. Harvey's pass tipped away, and now it's Drake off and running ahead to Berg. The layup is good, and Drake is on the board.
That's one of the things that Coach Brooks was concerned about, is the transition game of the Bulldogs. They will get out and run at every opportunity.
Belmont head coach Bart Brooks in his 6th season overall is the 2022 Ohio Valley Conference Coach of the Year. And sees Madison Bartley finish inside. The 6'3" junior out of Kettering, Ohio, has been an excellent producer. Almost 12 points per game, 5 rebounds a contest for the Bruins. Cully's three way off, and Miller loses it out of bounds. Let's take a look at Laura's keys to the game, a production of Explore St. Louis.
Well, Belmont, we talked about it, the transition game. They have to be able to slow the Bulldogs down, not let them get out and run to the rim, and they need to disrupt the rhythm of the Bulldogs. They're doing that right now. They're not letting them get into that high-low game that they like to play. And then for the Bulldogs, adjust to the defense. We saw them collapse down on the Bulldogs inside. They need to start knocking down some shots from the outside and play up tempo. They're going to push it as much as they can. They feel like they have a little more depth than Belmont does.
Here they are pushing it. Katie Dinnebeer with the answer after the Harvey basket on the other end. Our keys to the game brought to you by Explore St. Louis. The Valley's making its way to St. Louis for Arch Madness 2023, March 2nd through the 5th. So start your planning now at ExploreStLouis.com. Wells wants another three. And that's rebounded by Maggie Bear, the 6'3" senior from Glen Ellen, Illinois.
And we talked to both of these coaches today, and they both felt the inside game was going to be the one that was going to be key in this ball game. They have really good matchups on both sides, and that may be where the game is going to be won, is in the paint.
And Tessa Miller gets whistled for the foul as Grace Berg goes up to the free throw line. The senior from just down the road in Indianola, Iowa, began her career at the University of Missouri. A first-team All-Missouri Valley Conference performer each of the last 2 years. Was on the Becky Hammond Mid-Major Player of the Year watch list.
You know, we talked about players that are going to have to step up with the loss of Megan Meyer, and it's going to be by committee. It's not just going to fall on the shoulders of one player to pick up those points of Meyer. And Grace Berg had a really nice game against Bradley. They're still transitioning and trying to figure out how to play without Megan in that lineup. But Berg against Bradley had a nice game with 18 points, 7 rebounds.
Had 3 assists as well. Helping that offense in all kinds of different ways as McGuff's pass tipped and stolen.
That's the one thing, too. We see a lot of new faces on the floor for the Bulldogs that they have substituted fairly quickly here in this ball game, but that's something that they do, and they feel like this depth will really help them at the end of the ball game, that they play so many players and not a lot of minutes.
And Courtney Becker, Anna Miller both on the floor for the Drake Bulldogs. Becker with the basket. It's a 6-0 run as Drake grabs their first lead of this first quarter here at 8-7. It's a good feed inside. How about the pass from Bartley over to Miller?
That was great. Caught it in midair, but look at Anna Miller running the floor for the Bulldogs.
6'3" sophomore. She was on the Valley All-Freshman team a season ago. Almost 8 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, and 50 blocks. She can hold her own on this end of the floor as well.
You know, Belmont has to be prepared once they score. They felt like if they could score, they could slow the Bulldogs down. But boy, you could see how quickly that Drake got down the floor. They will push it, and they have to get back and be aware.
There's a three from Sydney Harvey, and Harvey, the grad transfer from South Florida, she was one player that Coach Pullman says she is scary because if she gets hot, she can really turn it on.
Yeah, she's a player that you have to be aware of. Knocked down 10 three-pointers against Troy a couple of weeks ago. Got her Missouri Valley Player of the Week honors, and 10 three-pointers. That's pretty impressive.
Only player in Division I. That is quite impressive. 10 of 12. Does that sound right?
10 of 12. I think that's correct.
There's a basket inside. As Drake continues to roll. Courtney Becker coming off the bench, providing some instant offense.
They worked a little mid-high-low game that time. Miller at the mid-high. And Becker is just doing a great job of working without the ball and finding the openings.
Blair Schoenwald, a junior, on the floor for the Bruins, along with Brooke Highmark, a freshman. Destiny Wells adds 2 more to her total. 5 points early on. Here's McCauley for 3. Gets the roll.
It's just that extra pass by the Bulldogs. And again, talking with coaches, the other matchup that both coaches thought would be really good is the one we're watching here at the top of the court, and that's Wells and Dinnebeer. They're going to go after one another this entire game.
Destiny Wells, 5'6" junior out of Lakeland, Tennessee. On that basket is Nikki Baird, 6-foot senior out of Illinois. And now Schoenwald comes up with a loose ball. Here come the Bruins. Wells in transition. Goes right to the rim and draws the foul on McCauley. And that'll bring us to a media timeout. A 1-point game, 5 minutes in. The Bruins and the Bulldogs in Des Moines.
First quarter, Maggie Bear has not gotten off a shot. So they've done a good job of denying her the basketball. When she's gotten it into the post, they've doubled down on her. So they need to find some ways to be able to get her some open looks.
Destiny Wells and Sydney Harvey both with 5 points. Wells now with 6 as she's up to the free throw line. It's Grace Berg and Courtney Becker off the bench leading the way offensively, both with 4 points here early on. And Wells now with 7. Belmont a 3-point lead. This is the first road trip in Belmont's history in the Missouri Valley Conference. Their first season in the Valley, and at home for 2 wins last weekend against Valparaiso and UIC. Drake, meanwhile, at home for the first time this season. Lost at Illinois State before grabbing a win at Bradley. And that rolls off the rim for Sarah Beth Gelder.
Out of that timeout, you could see that Belmont stepped it up defensively. They came out with some full court pressure. Once it got into that half court, they just turned it up even more, the pressure, and the Bulldogs did a good job of breaking it. But what a press like that does is speed you up. So those shots that are coming off your hand are coming out a little quicker. You need to slow things down once you get the look.
3 at the top of the key, and Gelder knocks it in. The 5'9" senior from Olathe, Kansas.
Yeah, you leave Sarah Beth Gildner open that much, she's going to pull the trigger, and she is very good at knocking down the three-point shot.
Harvey's off the mark. Now here comes freshman Ava Hawthorne in the game for Drake. Inside to Bear, and gets tied up underneath. Tessa Miller inside, playing tough. The sophomore had a big game against Troy. 21 rebounds, 16 against St. Louis. Can play physical inside, and she'll need to do that here tonight.
No, absolutely. I think the inside play on both sides is going to be key in this game, and all players that are playing in the paint need to be smart, need to play straight up. Don't want to get in foul trouble, because that is a big emphasis for both of these teams.
Miller kicked it out to Baird, who traveled with the basketball, and Drake gets it back with 3 minutes to play. All knotted up here at 18. There's the drive by Anna Miller, and draws the foul. It's the sophomore out of Rochester, Minnesota. Averaged 8 points per game a season ago for Drake. Goes up to the free throw line, is about at that same clip, about 8 points per game in her sophomore season.
Well, and they let her have that inside part of that zone, and she saw it turned around. She can knock down that shot. Instead, she decided to put it on the floor and take it right into the teeth of the defense and got herself to the free throw line.
Miller has made 10, now 11 straight free throws this season, and gives Drake a 2-point lead as McGuff back on the floor for the Bruins. Wells and Baird back and forth up top. Good defense. Wells gets the shot off and tries to follow her own rebound. Sarah Beth Gelder kept it alive, and here comes the Bulldogs.
Bulldogs changing up defenses, back in that zone again.
There's an open three for Bear. And it'll be Belmont basketball. We talked about the two head coaches. Bart Brooks is in his 6th season with the Bruins, who come into this game 6-7 overall, 2-0 in Valley play. Got his 100th career win and NCAA tournament victory, topping Gonzaga in 2021. This is Belmont Bruins team. Last year, got a win over Oregon. Became just the 2nd school ever to win games as a 12 seed in back-to-back seasons.
Well, you leave Miller open right there, and they collapsed down, and she took her time, sized it up, and just knocked down the jumper.
Dinnebeer fires the three, and it's rebounded by McGuff. Laura, we talked to the two coaches today. These two teams both in the top 100 of the net ranking, and both coaches talked about how this league has some quality wins already. Coach Brooks was talking about, we don't usually get this in a conference matchup where we have a quality game on our schedule, and we've got a number of them coming this year in the Valley as Wells drops in 3 more.
You know, and both of these coaches schedule very tough in the non-conference. They want to make sure that they can have that resume built before you get into conference play, and that's what both of these schools have done at really tough non-conference. Belmont's was 17th toughest in the country.
Yeah, toughest schedule. Quite impressive, and even with a 6-7 record, to be in the top 100 of the net ranking shows that tough schedule, how they've played in that tough schedule, still a very quality basketball team.
And Coach Brooks kind of felt like, you know, there were games that we should have won. We just couldn't get over the hump, and they would have been huge wins for us, but they learned a lot about this team and themselves in that non-conference play as they hold the ball here for the last shot.
Tied at 23, final seconds of the first quarter. Wells working against Dinnebeer. Shot clock down to 1, and a deep 2 goes for Destiny Wells. And that is how the first quarter comes to a close. 25-23. Destiny Wells into double figures. She has 12, and it's the Bruins in front by 2 after 1. Yesterday, these two teams that you expect to be in the hunt for one of the top couple seeds at the Missouri Valley Conference tournament at the end of the season, even with the expected absence of Tootie Jones for Belmont and Megan Meyer of Drake. These two teams starting red hot offensively here in this first quarter. Ashley Iams off the mark.
Think about this weekend as well. Murray State is up at Northern Iowa. Belmont's here at Drake, and then they flip-flop as their travel partners. So this is a big weekend already here in the Valley for some of the top teams.
4 teams all sitting in that top half of the conference preseason poll. There's a turnover by Belmont, just their 4th in this basketball game. A pretty clean first quarter for both teams. Putback won't fall, and clearing the rebound for Belmont and off and running is Kate Hollyfeld.
You know, and it looks like the Bulldogs are maybe rushing their shots a little bit. They're anticipating some contact, and they're playing that tempo that Belmont is forcing them to play, and so they need to slow it back down. They need to control the tempo and the pace of this game.
Here's Maggie Bear inside. We talked about 44 blocks last season. It's against one heck of a player, too, and Bartley, really strong post player that's going to be an excellent Missouri Valley Conference performer.
That block by Maggie Bear looked like a volleyball block.
There's Sarah Beth Gelder. She's got a couple threes that have fallen. Excuse me, that was Becker on that shot. On the drive, McGuff, yes, and an opportunity to add one more.
As Belmont pushes the ball down the floor, a little hesitation at the top and weaves her way through the defense, able to draw the contact and finish, and McGuff doing a great job stepping in over the last 5 games, averaging about 15 points a game.
Kylan McGuff, the daughter of Ohio State women's basketball head coach Kevin McGuff. 6-foot sophomore out of Columbus, Ohio. It's the free throw to fall. Brooke Highmark, Sydney Harvey return to the floor for Belmont. Destiny Wells getting a breather. There's Dinnebeer inside. The kick out and the 3. Hawthorne no good.
This defense that Belmont is playing, they're extending that zone, really forcing the Bulldogs out and out of rhythm.
And McGuff's pivot foot kind of rolled over. So Belmont turns it over with a 5-point lead at 28-23.
Trying to find her way to find that driving lane. I think they might have called the foul on her with the little push-off.
Did they? I thought we had.
I know it looked like a travel, but I think they did call her with the foul.
So her first. There's a feed inside, and Anna Miller drops it in.
And that's the first time the Bulldogs in a long time have been patient, tried to work it inside, got that rotation going. They were settling for 3-point shots. They need to work it inside out.
There's Harvey in the lane. The floater in and out, no good. Rebound grabbed by Becker. Dinnebeer back to Miller, and Miller knocks it in.
You know, that's just a patented play for the Bulldogs. They run that a fair amount as the bigs are the trailer on the break, and they tow it up at the 3-point line, and Miller with a nice soft stroke.
And all of them can knock it in from deep for Anna Miller. That's just her 3rd on the season. Close to 30% shooting on the year. Here's Dinnebeer from the outside, no good. Berg grabs the rebound. Now Hawthorne down to Berg. She'll shoot it from the corner and knock it in. Back-to-back triples. And the Drake Bulldogs up 3, an 8-0 run on their home floor.
Only fitting that Berg gets those points, right? She goes in and she gets the offensive rebound. They work it around, find her open in the corner.
Shot inside by Miller is blocked now. The throw ahead for Katie Dinnebeer. And the sophomore out of West Des Moines, Iowa, lays it in. A 5-point lead for Drake and a timeout taken by the Bruins. 6:11 to play here in the second quarter. Is presented by Great Southern Bank. Great Southern Bank in the Valley are proud to recognize the league's Player of the Year with the Jackie Stiles Trophy. And so the Bulldog fans will get a good glimpse of the newcomers of the Missouri Valley Conference and a couple of the stars. Destiny Wells tonight. Caitlin Young will be here for a game on Sunday as they're playing at UNI this evening. There's a 3 from the right wing. Schoenwald knocks it in.
Player coming into this ball game only 3 of 30 from the floor, 1 of 24 from three-point range. Knocks down a big three-pointer.
Miller had it knocked away, able to get it back. Here's Berg.
Just doing a really great job of shutting down the Bulldogs. Every time they move, they make a pass. They have not been able to get themselves open. A little ball fake, a little dribble, drive, pull-up jumper might help them get that defense out of position.
Looked like that shot was blocked by Nikki Baird, just tipped, but then touched by Drake along the baseline. This has been a back and forth basketball game here in this first half. Destiny Wells, that shot off the mark. Rebound tipped over to Becker. There's Berg inside. It's going to face up against Miller and blocked by Miller.
And Berg called for the ball. She felt like she had position on the defender, and then as she made that move, right there you can see Miller on her, makes the move, and then the double team comes. She tries to split it. Baird right there to help out with the backside defense.
Well, Laura, as you and I were looking at this matchup, we were looking at some of the post players, and then we were looking at some of the guards. There's some great matchups on the floor here. Talk about some one-on-one matchups and just how both of these teams play together. It's really a fun style of basketball as Berg knocks one in from the corner, and now Grace Berg with that basket into double figures with 10. Knocked out of bounds by Bear, and substitution, Katie Dinnebeer back into the game as Ava Hawthorne, the freshman from Ames, Iowa, checks out.
Both of these teams, we talked about them going inside, looking inside. Not a whole lot of fouls called in this first half, and not a lot of free throws being shot. So it's, as you had mentioned, a very clean game.
In this game, just 3 fouls called on Drake and 4 on Belmont. That is good defense by the Bulldogs. Knocked off the leg of Schoenwald.
Miller will be credited with another block. She is #1 in the Valley in blocks per game, a little over 2. She's got those long arms that keeps those shooters at bay.
There's Bear inside, got the offensive rebound, but her shot was blocked away.
So the way it's being played right now, you have to be physical if you're playing in the paint. You've got to secure the rebound, maybe give a pump fake, get the defender in the air, try to get an and one.
Berg from the corner, no good from the outside. Now, she's made 3 triples in just the last 5 games combined, and 2 here tonight. Shot by Baird is rebounded by Berg.
And I think Belmont's doing a better job of getting back in transition, but there again, if you're going to go inside, you've got to try to get that defender out of position, and they're letting them play. They're letting them play in this game.
And you've got teams that are disciplined defensively and just playing great defense in transition, when a lot of times it's tough to stay disciplined. And there's Miller finding the 2 inside.
But what a pass from Maggie Bear. She's fallen to the ground, wraps around the defender with the pass right into Miller.
Drake in front by 7. As Belmont got huge production in that first quarter from Destiny Wells. There's a cut across the lane. The finish by Nikki Baird is good.
Now both teams now, ball going down into the post, and both post players for both teams doing a great job of passing out of it.
Berg draws the foul as Miller tried to take the charge. Gets called for the block.
Well, rebounding was going to be a point of emphasis for Coach Pullman, going to the boards on both offense and defense. Maggie Baird going to the offensive glass, and a nice little wraparound pass to Anna Miller.
Up to the free throw line goes Grace Berg. 10 points for her tonight. And
I think we
players
might have
heading
a
to their bench.
review here that we're going to look for some kind of contact, I'm assuming, that they're going to review.
Our officials for this evening's game, Brian Hall, Jamie Broderick, and Doug Knight. So you have Brian and Jamie at the monitor. Well, Laura, the Missouri Valley Conference has some quality wins, and see Allison Pullman right there, the two head coaches on the floor here, have been a part of some big wins in their programs. Here we take a look.
I'm not sure what they were looking at. Maybe the time on the clock. They were challenging if she was in the restricted area, which she was.
Okay.
So he loses a timeout, and that's Belmont. Coach Brooks loses a timeout because they went and took a look at to see where she was positioned.
Defensive discipline for these teams to get back, to take charges. We see them. They're grabby with their hands, right? Their defense is going to come at you, but they'll stand there, take the charge.
Yeah, they're not going to back down to anything. They're going to stand their ground. They're going to stay in there. And you're right, they're going to be disciplined. They aren't afraid to stand in and take a charge.
Destiny Wells fires the three. Strong rebound inside, grabbed by Becker.
And Becker had great inside position that time, and Baird went right up over the top of her and picks up the foul.
Here's an open look for Sarah Beth Gelder. That's no good, and somehow Berg saved it from going out of bounds, and it's going to be Drake basketball. Thought for sure she was running out of real estate there along the baseline.
Well, she gave the extra effort, and then so did Courtney Becker to get the loose ball after she threw it in.
Drake working with a 6-point lead. Berg tries another three, no. And a foul on the rebound. And this will go on McGuff, and that'll be her second personal foul.
Well, as you know, you shoot those long shots, they're going to come off the rim hard. Grace Berg did the right thing, followed her shot. She knew when it left her hand that it was going to come up short. Charges the rim, gets the rebound, able to draw that foul on McGuff.
So see McGuff checking out. Harvey back onto the floor for Belmont. Here's a three by Sarah Beth Geltner, and she drills another one. 3 triples now for Geltner.
Well, she is a player that can get hot from beyond the arc. Took 11 three-pointers in the Bradley game last week. Has taken 4 here today, and they're going to try to get her some more looks because she looks very comfortable from distance here in this ball game.
It's a steal by Becker. Now the feed inside, swatted away by Bartley.
Boy, Bartley did a great job of hustling and getting in between Bear and Dennebeer with that pass.
Well, Drake up 9. Their largest lead of the game as they have gotten it going offensively and really stymied Belmont on the defensive end of the floor. Here's a travel as Miller gives it away.
There's a little bit of a gap in that zone that Belmont is playing, and so it looks like the Bulldogs are trying to cut into the middle of the 2-3 to see if they can get maybe that mid-high low look.
Kendall Cheeseman, a sophomore out of Tampa, Florida, in the game for the Bruins. Gets the offensive rebound. Now Harvey goes inside. This is Bartley. Nice move. Shot rolls off the rim.
Bartley with good footwork down there, just could not get the shot to fall.
There's the kick out. 3-point try, no for Geldner. Miller will try one from the outside. And another offensive rebound. Bear that time pulls it in. There it goes, and Geldner, the one to knock it in.
Well, credit Maggie Bear for going and getting 2 offensive rebounds to give the Bulldogs extra possessions.
Final minute of the first half. Drake a 12-point lead. Belmont looking for a basket. Wells shoots over top of Geldner. Rebound grabbed by Miller, and a jump ball is called as Bartley tried to rip it away.
You know, Wells is someone that got off to that really hot start in the first quarter, 12 points, and has been held scoreless since. And so they need to get her going again here at halftime. Let her get a little bit of a rest, come back out, try to get her the basketball right away to see if she can get back on a roll.
This is a 12-2 Drake run, and one more possession here in this second quarter. Geldner with a couple of threes the last 2 trips down for the Bulldogs, and Berg stepped out of bounds. They'll give it to the Bruins, and so Belmont an opportunity to get one shot here.
They're going to be smart about it. Keep it in Wells' hands. Let her see if she can get by Dennebeer.
And lost it, gets it back, throws it up, and hits the shot clock. And so Drake will have the ball with less than a second to play. And that, I think, is the length of Drake's defense that's been such a problem for Belmont, really affecting Wells on that last possession.
Yeah, you get the long arms of Anna Miller out there. Taylor McCauley didn't have much time because she got in a little bit of foul trouble. But you do have length, and that has given Belmont a little bit of trouble on this first possession, that they're going to get the ball into Wells' hands and let her work and see if she can get on track again to start this half.
Belmont just 1-7 when trailing at the half. Drake is 6-2 this season when they have had a lead. And Belmont goes inside to Madison Bartley, and Bartley's shot will not fall. Just 1 for 2 in the first half. Down low for Bartley, and Drake goes inside. Maggie Bear, her first basket of the game, was 0 for 4 in the first half.
So both teams try to go inside, work it in the paint. The Bulldogs are successful with their little interior passing. Belmont now starting out 0 for 2, but they're still trying to go inside. Looks like they would like to try to get Bartley going. They've gotten her the ball a couple of different times.
She has had moments in her Belmont career where she has seemed nearly unstoppable. Right now it's Drake who seems unstoppable, and their halftime point production of 45 points. Second most points Belmont's allowed in a first half all season. The other team, Villanova, scored 53. They were ranked in the top 25 at the time of that game. There's Tessa Miller with that move. That was blocked by Bear.
Miller tried to give a little extra pivot inside and a little extra step, went up against Bear, who got the block.
Coley's pass knocked out of bounds by Bartley. So Drake basketball. underneath.
Coach Brooks talked about Miller and how she has really stepped up since Tootie Jones has been out. They need that spark. They need that player because Tootie Jones is a player that is a heartbeat of the team, and they all kind of look to her to get things going if they needed to get that run. And he said Miller is kind of that attitude and that mindset that they can look to her, that she can maybe light a flame for this team.
Miller kicks to the corner. Three-point try falls for Sydney Harvey. And the Bruins are on the board here in the third quarter.
Well, and Harvey is a player as well that can get going, and she can light it up. You give her open shots, and they did the right thing. They made that extra pass, one more pass down into the corner where Harvey was able to get open and knock it down.
Harvey, one of 2 1,000 career point scorers on the Bruins roster. Dinnebeer shot no good, but the offensive rebound and putback is by Taylor McCauley, the 5'11 junior from Lena Lakes, Minnesota.
You know, those are plays that where a player just doesn't give up. They just keep going after it, and it's just sheer will to go after those rebounds. And McCauley was able to find a little bit of daylight to split through players and get to the ball and get to the glass.
Sarah Beth Geldner wants another three, and that is her 5th made triple of this basketball game.
They just were patient on that set. They ran the motion, able to pop Geldner open at the top of the key. That seems to be her spot. She's knocked down several from that point on the floor.
There's Wells getting a screen from Miller, now guarded by Geldner. Skips it down to Bartley, and Bartley has it taken away, and Drake really giving a lot of attention to Madison Bartley, the 6'3 junior. She has not been able to get going here today. Just 1 for 4 from the floor, 2 points coming in that first half.
Well, and they were looking for her to be consistent, and she's given them some moments. She's given them some games where she's really tough to stop, and then maybe next time out, not as consistent. And they need her to be that player in the middle that they can look to, that she's going to give them that 12, 15-point performance every night out.
There's a feed inside, and Becker gets blocked, but a foul is called. And that goes on Nikki Baird. Baird called for her 3rd personal foul.
The passing for the Bulldogs in this ball game has been so good and on point. They're hitting the cutters where they need to hit them, leading them just enough to get them open, and just throwing them open like a quarterback would do in football.
How about another offensive rebound for Drake? Now 15 offensive boards. Dinnebeer gets double teamed. 3-pointer from the wing, that falls for Becker.
You know, and that's a great read as Dinnebeer comes off the screen. She gets doubled, sees that she can't take the ball any further, but the defense didn't recover quick enough, and that left Becker wide open.
Kylan McGuff off the iron. That falls. It's a tip pass. Drake comes up with a loose basketball after Miller grabs the rebound. This 3 is too strong, and Miller grabs the board.
You want to make that point of emphasis if you're the Bulldogs. That would have been a huge bucket, and a little skip pass, diagonal pass cross court to Geldner, who is feeling it and has the green light to fire those shots.
There's the drive by Harvey, rebounded by Berg. Sarah Beth Geldner ties her season high with her 5 made threes. Career high is 6 against DePaul back in 2021. There's Grace Berg with 2 more. She has 15. And a timeout taken by Belmont head coach Bart Brooks. 4:42 to play. timeout on the floor. The Drake Bulldogs in front by 24 here in the third. (60-36), Drake with the lead over Belmont. Well, here in this third quarter, it has been all Drake. And Laura, go back all the way to the 3:07 mark of the second quarter. Belmont is just 1 of 13, and they have been outscored by Drake 27-5.
You know, and that's really, I mean, that's impressive by this Drake team to have that kind of a run against a Belmont team who is really good, high-powered, good defensive team. And they did all of that without Maggie Bear scoring until the third quarter. So Bulldogs are knocking down some threes, and 5 different players have attempted threes, have made threes, and that's what has gotten this lead for the Bulldogs.
Anna Miller called for the foul for reaching in. As Maggie Bear, 2 points, averages 17 on the season. That's a timeout on the floor. Alongside Laura Leonard, I am Brad Wells in the Knapp Center in Des Moines, Iowa. First ever meeting between Drake and Belmont. And Drake has been off and running since the 3:07 mark of the second quarter. And Belmont is just struggling to find answers offensively.
Well, one way to do it and one way to get that confidence level back up, put the ball on the floor, drive it at this defense. That's what they're doing. Get to the line, knock down some points, and see if you can take that deep breath and get back into a rhythm of how you normally play.
So up to the free throw line. It was Kylan McGuff. Kylan McGuff last weekend opened Valley play with 11 points, 6 rebounds, a pair of assists against Valpo, 6 points, 6 rebounds against UIC. When Belmont went 2-0 to start Valley play. Drake, meanwhile, 1-1 in the opening weekend of conference action. And they are looking unstoppable here tonight. Courtney Becker, the backdoor cut for the easy 2.
It's just the constant movement away from the basketball that has gotten Drake open in some easy looks.
Drake in front by 26. There's another tipped pass by this Bulldogs defense. McGuff dumps it off inside. It's been a frustrating night at the office for Madison Bartley.
Yeah, Bartley has had about 4 or 5 really good games that she has put up double figures, and they just have not been able to get her the basketball to even get her good looks.
Foul called on Ava Hawthorne there. You're right, Bartley, 13 points against Georgia, 17 against Troy, 20 points against Valpo, 18 against UIC. As you saw a shot from underneath the hoop. Fantastic look by our crew here in Des Moines. And Belmont, something Coach Allison Pullman said, Belmont is never out of it. They're always going to come at you. So you know, in every huddle, as Coach Brooks is trying to make adjustments, Coach Pullman is saying, don't let up.
And you can't. You just have to go out and play the next 4 minutes or the next 5 minutes the way you played the last 5 minutes. And it looks like Maggie Bear might have gotten popped in the mouth a little bit.
Courtney Becker gets the basket. Now play is stopped for Maggie Bear. Heads to the bench. Counting teeth and making sure things are intact.
You know, Bear is a player that's not afraid to stick her nose in it, and she's in the paint and she plays in the post area. And a year ago, I think it was a year ago, maybe a couple years ago, she broke her nose and had to play with the mask, played with it for maybe a game, maybe 2 games, and threw it to the side and said, I'm not playing with this.
The officials are at the monitor right now taking a look at that play. Any contact right to the head or neck area. gets a look, and just after the shot took an elbow right to the face from Tessa Miller, so that'll be just a play on. No harm in that. But Maggie Bear, last year, Missouri Valley Conference honorable mention pick. The year before that was the Valley 6 Player of the Year, and then ended up on the all-tournament team with a great performance in Moline, Illinois, leading the Bulldogs in scoring with 17 points, leading them in rebounding as well. Almost 8.5 a game, 16 blocks behind only Anna Miller.
No, and she's
just so solid inside. And she's grown every single year.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I was going to say. She is just, her game has grown from her freshman year to this year, and she has just gotten stronger, more confident with her game, and just enjoys being out there. And as we've seen, not afraid to get physical down in the post. Does a great job with those long arms defensively to be that shot blocker.
We got incidental contact on the shot, so we'll get restarted here with 3 minutes to play. Both of these teams battle tested. They have played some grueling schedules over the course of the non-conference. And here's a drive by McGuff, and McGuff traveled with the basketball.
They were trying to spread the floor to see if they could find a driving lane for somebody to get through, and McGuff just drug that pivot foot.
Turnover number 10 comes here in the third quarter for the Bruins.
But you know, you talk about the non-conference, and yes, they're battle-tested, but both of these teams were in postseason play a year ago, and Belmont in the NCAA tournament, the Bulldogs in the NIT, and they've got a lot of extra games postseason that help them to get to this point as well, get that experience.
Both coaches know the value of playing a tough schedule as Miller gets fouled inside. And I believe that goes on Becker down low. And Belmont's non-conference strength of schedule, I think you alluded to it earlier, 17th most difficult in the country. Bruins' average opponent net ranking is the 6th highest in the country. 3 teams in the top 30 of the net. Both of these teams played the Iowa Hawkeyes this season.
And had a chance to knock the Iowa Hawkeyes off.
Really did, yeah.
I mean, both had their opportunities, and Iowa able to come away with those wins, but both of these teams really gave them a run.
There's a feed inside, and Maggie Bear's doing just fine there on the finish. And how about 20 assists now for Drake on 25 baskets. Bear Hawthorne, season highs in assists. Dinnebeer with 5. Grace Berg assisted on that basket.
You know, on the passes, the timing is perfect. There's no hesitation from these players. They're not second guessing. They're just throwing the ball exactly when it needs to be delivered.
And Laura, that's Destiny Wells' first basket since the first quarter, when she filled it up and had 12 points in the opening 10 minutes.
Finally able to find her way to a little bit of daylight and knock down a shot.
To the free throw line goes Katie Dinnebeer, the 5'8" sophomore out of Waukee High School. A season ago, met daily with Allison Pullman to figure out what she needed to do as a point guard. And Laura, with the news this week, Megan Meyer, the senior point guard, her ACL injury is going to have her out this season, had surgery today. It's going to be a lot more minutes for Katie Dinnebeer, and a lot more of the offensive burden will go on Dinnebeer just to help facilitate.
Yeah, and that's what she does mainly. I mean, she runs this offense. She is the facilitator, and she can be a scorer when the team needs her to be a scorer as well. But she's maybe going to have to pick up a little more of that leadership as well that Megan Meyer would provide out on the floor for the Bulldogs.
That was Kendall Cheeseman on that three-point shot transfer from Vanderbilt. Here's Bear from 3 once again. How about Maggie Bear now getting in on the three-point action? She has 7 points.
And again, the Bulldogs go inside. They double team Dinnebear, but she has those eyes up, and that's what we talk about being a facilitator, seeing where her teammates are on the floor, finding them and getting them with a good pass.
And McCauley knocks it out of bounds off of Harvey, and the Bulldogs save the possession. Just impressive effort from this Drake Bulldog crew here tonight.
And that's just a smart play, knowing where you are on the floor. You're leaning out of bounds. You have an opponent draped all over you. You're able to gain control and knock it off their knee out of bounds to keep the possession.
Well, and Harvey had kind of given up on that play, and McCauley almost came out of nowhere to throw it off her leg. That play looked like it was last touched by Drake. They say tipped by the Bruins in that deep corner. Final seconds of the third quarter. Drake's at their largest lead of the game here at 29. Bear has it knocked away, and the shot clock goes off. Belmont basketball here with the final few seconds.
Belmont had switched up defenses and gone man-to-man, stretching it out a little bit further.
Destiny Wells, half-court heave, that's too strong. And Drake in front by 29 points after 3 quarters go. Harvey picking things up a little bit. She has 8 points, but it has been all Drake Bulldogs here in Des Moines. Sarah Beth Gildner, 15 points. Grace Berg with 15. Courtney Becker with 12. Anna Miller with 11. Those are the Bulldogs in double figures. And that is last touch by Drake. 11 made three-pointers for Drake, and that impressive stat that you pointed out right before halftime, the assist to made baskets ratio for Drake. 21 assists on 26 made baskets. There's a bucket by Nikki Baird.
Well, and that's what the Bulldogs have done over the last 5 to 6 years as far as handing out assists, getting their teammates open. They are second in the nation as far as number of assists per game, right around 21. So they're right at their average of 21 assists here in this ball game.
Belmont showing some pressure, and you're seeing a much greater intensity from this Bruins defense. You can tell, I'm guessing Coach Brooks challenged his ladies at that last break.
He did, and I'll tell you, he's come up with a couple of empty possessions for the Bulldogs. Now this is 3 empty possessions for the Bulldogs. Opportunity for Belmont to climb back into this ball game, but they haven't been able to hit shots.
It's the one from Baird here early in the fourth quarter.
You know, and you go back to that second quarter and looking at stats, and Bulldogs were able to knock down 5 of 17 three-pointers. That got them the lead. They got hot from beyond the arc. And then in the third quarter, everything was concentrated in the paint.
Sarah Beth Gelner rattles in and out. She has 5 made threes in the game for Drake. 15 points for her. And here's a takeaway now as McGuff could not handle the pass. Iams the throw ahead. The put back, no, and it'll be a trip up to the free throw line for the sophomore from Ames, Iowa.
Just really an unforced turnover for Belmont. The Bulldogs going the other way. Couldn't connect, but get to the free throw line. And, you know, that's something you get into a ball game like this. You get down big. You sometimes lose a little concentration, and I think that's what happened on that last play for the Bruins.
Up to the free throw line. Ashley Iams has played in all 11 games this season, played just 16 games a season ago. Working her way into a more solidified role off the bench. And checks out as Courtney Becker back on the floor, along with starters Sarah Beth Gelner, Katie Dinnebeer, Grace Berg, and Maggie Bair. And there's the shot from Harvey is blocked.
Becker got a fingertip on that one. Really trying to get out and trap, being a little more aggressive on the defensive side, but they're not getting the defensive rotation as Drake puts it on the floor.
Sarah Beth Geldner, first basket from inside the three-point line. She now has 17 points. This is Brooke Highmark, true freshman guard. A bounce pass to Bartley. It's going to result in Bartley getting called for the foul, the push on Dinnebeer. Schoenwald into the game for Wells for Belmont.
Belmont's going to make one last push. They're going to continue to press. They're going to see if they can force some turnovers. Bulldogs have taken care of the ball. That's something that's been a problem for Drake, is that they turn it over about 18 times a ball game, and here tonight they've only turned it over 9 times.
Backdoor cut by Becker, and ball ends out of bounds. Well, Belmont picked to win the Missouri Valley Conference this season. Drake picked to finish 3rd. Preseason coaches / media poll. It's a basket by Hartley. Bartley with just 4 points now.
Yeah, but you could see the footwork and the ability that she has to make those moves in the post and be able to get to the hoop. And they needed a little bit more out of her like that tonight. But you have to credit the Bulldogs because they denied her the basketball.
Timeout on the floor. The Bulldogs in front, 75-47 on their home floor.
And then Destiny Wells, she started out hot. I mean, she was knocking down everything, and the Bulldogs made the adjustment and have shut her down since that first quarter.
And right on cue, Sarah Beth Geldner ties her career high with 6 made threes and now has 20 points in this basketball game. Drake as a team has season highs in 3-point baskets, offensive rebounds, and steals. And Anna Miller now ties her career high 5 blocked shots. That's McCauley with a basket. And Drake now finishing this 4th quarter just as they finished the 2nd quarter strong. Destiny Wells unable to get that to fall, and still running the floor. Anna Miller misses the layup. Coach Allison Pullman, Laura told us today, we'd like to keep the pace fast. We'd like to go up and down the floor. I'd like it if we scored 80 points, was her comment. And the Drake Bulldogs are at 81.
Yeah, and that's, right about their average. They average right around 83, and so that's a comfortable territory for them. But against a team like Belmont, who plays really good defense, and they do hold their opponents to 68 points a game, she really felt like they needed to have the offensive performance and the output that they're getting here tonight. They needed to get the good balance of the inside-outside play.
Wells' shot no good. Katie Dinnebeer checks out, by the way. Ava Hawthorne, freshman, in the game. There's a basket by Becker inside. And Becker now with 14. Go to the line, an opportunity to add one more.
Nice dump down inside to Becker. Every time she tried to make a move, there was a hand on it from Belmont, and she was able to rip it through the defenders and get it up to the glass.
Cheeseman called for the foul. And then McGuff with the rebound. There's McGuff, tough shot, gets it to go and draws the foul.
McGuff just put her head down, got the ball at the top of the key, and was not going to let up. Leans in, draws the contact, and strong enough to get it to go. That's a really good power move, power drive by McGuff.
Three-point shot from the top of the key by Miller. Another offensive rebound for Drake. McCauley's three will not fall. Here comes Hollyfield back to McGuff, and McGuff knocks it in. It's the 8th made at three-pointer by Belmont.
And those are things I think that Bart Brooks is looking for in his players in a game like this. Who's going to continue to press? Who's going to continue to go strong to the hoop? Who's going to go after that loose ball?
Hawthorne feeds inside, and McCauley able to finish for Drake. It's the lead at 33 points for the Bulldogs. Layup from Highmark, left short. Final 3:42 here. What was expected to be a tightly contested Valley contest between two of the top teams in the Missouri Valley Conference. The Drake Bulldogs just with a huge second quarter and start to the third quarter, where it was at one point a 27-5 run for Drake, and Belmont just couldn't get a couple shots to fall and could not find an answer offensively against this Drake pressure defense.
And it's one of those things where the Bulldogs got hot, the confidence level continued to rise from long distance, and they kept knocking down three-pointers. And it wasn't just one person that was hot from the perimeter. They had everybody getting in on the party.
How about one more three-pointer by Sarah Beth Geldner, now 6, and she has a career high in 23 points, and this is the most points allowed by Belmont since '87. Most points against Belmont this season. And now substitutions, as you see the Drake Bulldog bench celebrate with 2:37 to play, coming in, picking up a big win after splitting on the road last weekend.
Well, I think last weekend they were still trying to adjust to having Megan Meyer out of the lineup with the torn ACL, trying to figure out what roles would happen and who would pick up the slack. And I think they figured that out in practice here this week and coming into this ballgame.
Should be a great confidence booster for everyone here. Basket is good, and at the free throw line, Kendall Cheeseman. Well, the MVC celebrating the 50th anniversary of the passage of Title IX legislation. Throughout the academic year, the Valley's honoring pioneers from league institutions who paved the way for current and future student athletes. To learn more about the conference Title IX recognition plans, visit mvc-sports.com/Title 950. Approaching the 2-minute mark in this fourth quarter, and Belmont comes up with a takeaway. Three-point try by Highmark is good. Highmark able to drop it in. Now 9 made threes for Belmont in this game. And the turnaround shot is good for Ashley Iams, the sophomore.
Now everybody is finding the mark for the Bulldogs. They just look very comfortable, very relaxed, and they continue to find the open shots.
Well, Laura, as we're in the final minutes of this one, I want to let you know, join us tomorrow, January 7th, more MVC women's basketball action, as it is fun. Tayden Gray, the freshman out of Kansas, with that basket. Indiana State travels to Valparaiso, Indiana, to take on the Valparaiso Beacons at the Arc. Coverage begins at 1 p.m. Central on the Valley on ESPN.
Well, it's certainly not the way that Belmont wanted to come into Iowa for the first time, and then they have a tough swing up to northern Iowa, and Murray State now coming down to Des Moines to play the Bulldogs on Sunday. So you have to believe that Bart Brooks is going to have his team ready to go against northern Iowa.
We do have a final score from Cedar Falls. UNI defeated Murray State 81-54. So kind of a runaway victory for the home team up to the northeast of Des Moines. UNI Panthers getting the win over the Racers. There's a steal and a run out. McGuff with the pick six, able to finish. We'll go to the line for an opportunity at an old three-point play.
McGuff really finishing strong here in this ball game and doing most of the scoring for the Bruins here late in the fourth quarter.
McGuff with 13 points. Just one behind Destiny Wells, who leads the way for the Bruins. More pressure from McGuff. Almost came up with another steal.
Yeah, she's going to play it to the final buzzer and trying to jump in that passing lane, get another steal. Well, these are games where if you're Belmont and you're Coach Brooks, you just go, okay, you kind of look at the tape for a minute and then you go, okay, here are a few things we need to work on, get back to the way that we play basketball when you go into your next game. You kind of have to put this one in the garbage can and just go, forget about it, and get back to the regular game plan and play basketball the way that you've played basketball all season long.
Yeah, one thing he mentioned, he says we have to be the aggressor, and I felt like at that point when Drake was on the run late second quarter, early third quarter, they were not in their aggressor mode. Drake was very much in control.
Right. It seemed like they all of a sudden, they kind of got hit with that punch that the Bulldogs had from the perimeter, and they started backpedaling, and they couldn't regain their form from that point on.
Here on the home floor, a great atmosphere here in Des Moines. And it's hometown weekend. The Drake men are in action here tomorrow. And the Drake women start the weekend with a victory, 94-63 over Belmont. As Sarah Beth Geldner, 23 points, 7 made threes. It's a career high for the Drake Bulldog senior.
And the Bulldogs are going to need that kind of production out of her as a three-point shooter to continue to be that consistent. And we've talked about it multiple times here tonight. Megan Myers out for the season. She's a three-point threat for the Bulldogs. Was last year, was at the beginning of this season as well. So Sarah Beth Geldner can be that player to step up and pick up some of those points that Megan Myers put on the sideline with that knee injury.
Has had some big games for the Bulldogs before, but none bigger than this one. 23 for Geldner, and Drake gets the win. So for Laura Leonard and our Drake University production crew, I'm Brad Wells saying so long from Des Moines, Iowa, where the Bulldogs defeat the Bruins 94-63. All games airing on the ESPN networks are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. We thank you for watching tonight's contest. This has been a presentation of ESPN. Drake wins it big over Belmont in Missouri Valley.